Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Exhuming the X-Files here on the Outpost Unknown YouTube channel. This is the show on the internet that talks about X-Files every single week until it's done. My name is Matthew, joined once again by Jeremy.
Hey everybody, how you doing?
And yeah, we're coming off a week where, I was really into some fat sucking and some blood pumping. I'm on a high, Jeremy. How are you feeling going into Musings of a Cigarette Smoking Man?
Title had a lot of promise, and after the last episode, despite having just watched 4 episodes in a row, I was ready for it. I was ready. I wasn't too burnt out yet to continue on with the Death March.
And for those who don't know what the Death March is we were watching 8 episodes back to back to back to back, and then recording these 8 episodes back to back to back to back. So we're gonna have like a 2-month head start into the fall, where we can take a break from X Files for a little bit of time here. But yeah, sometimes you just got to do the Death March to get ahead on things.
But
Did you? Oh,
I
go ahead.
got to ask you a question, a throwback to an episode we just talked about a few ago. We've watched at least 7 episodes together today, and we've spent the last 2.5 hours recording podcasts together.
Yeah.
We've basically been on a flight from O'Hare Airport to
Oh.
Frankfurt. You had to go to the bathroom yet during this entire time, Matt?
No. Technically, no. Like, I was like, oh, maybe I need to go to the bathroom during our last little break here. But no, I just grabbed myself a water. Now, let me tell you a funny story about me. This might just be a weird thing about me. I, how do I describe this? You know the Alamo Draft House, like Draft House of Horrors, where it'll be like, over Halloween they will have like a 12 movie marathon, starting at like 10 in the morning and going all the way to like 2 o'clock the next morning. My friend Pete and I, we went and did the Nightmare on Elm Street movie marathon few years back. It was basically showing every single Nightmare on Elm Street movie. It started with the original and went all the way through like New Nightmare. And it was a full 12 hours that I was in the Alamo Drafthouse Theater. And during that time, I drank probably 6 or 7 of those big cups of water. I had multiple chocolate malts, ate a bunch of food. Never once did I step foot in a bathroom at the Alamo Drafthouse. I didn't go to the bathroom until we got back to Lincoln. I got dropped off. I went to sleep. I woke up hours later and decided, it's probably time to go to the bathroom now. And I went to the bathroom then. So, no. Doesn't
You got to have a second colon, brother. There's something
I don't know.
ain't wrong. One of these tombs monsters that just eats people's colons are gonna get a hold of you at some point in your future. Like,
Hey, it's just a weird thing. I think it's just because I'm just terrified of public restrooms, and my body just says, no, we're putting everything on hold. You'll just absorb it into yourself if need be, but you're not going to step foot in a public restroom. You have to. It has to be a dire emergency, friend. Dire.
I,
If you ever
you
see me
know,
walk into a public restroom, you know something bad is happening.
oh, you don't follow me.
Don't do it. Don't follow me in. And with that, folks, we're going to talk about Musings of a Cigarette Smoking Man. This is actually directed by James Wong and written by Glenn Morgan. And this is a cigarette smoking man centric episode. We don't even see Mulder in this episode. I don't even think David Duchovny's in it, right?
I'm trying to remember if we see either.
Well, you see Scully from episode 1.
Oh yeah,
It's a
yeah.
flashback, but neither Mulder and Scully are in this episode really at all, which is very interesting. But let's talk about it. How does this thing get started?
Starts with a quote. Says, "For nothing can seem foul to those that win."
Yes.
Hands in on a rat scurrying, and I thought it was very poignant that they used a rat
Yeah.
that all of a sudden scurries away from somebody's shoes, and you find that the shoes are that belong to the cigarette smoking man, and he's in some sort of like broken down warehouse or something. There's some shattered glass on the window behind him. It's dark, it's abandoned, and he's overlooking somebody. He fires up a tape recorder or some sort of listening device, and you could tell that it's Mulder talking to the lone gunman, and the lone gunman have some information
Yeah.
about the cigarette smoking man that Mulder needs to hear. And they're like, "Well, we're not going to talk about it until you turn on that scrambler." And so they scramble the audio, but what they aren't aware is that the cigarette smoking man has some advanced tech that unscrambles their scrambler. And so he continues listening it up or to them as he's setting up a night vision sniper rifle to point at their front door. And it's you got Frohickey, and he's saying they found everything, they found possibly everything, or what? They found possible everything. Why did I write it like that? Everything he's been about, who the cigarette smoking man is, and who
Yeah.
he wants to be.
Like they mention his mom died of lung cancer, like his dad was a communist spy. Like they have the goods on the cigarette smoking man.
And then we get the title screen.
Yeah. Cool opening, very cool opening in my opinion. I remember seeing this episode as a kid, so like I kind
Same.
of I knew kind of like the main beats to it, but I hadn't seen it in so long that it just kind of felt fresh. But yeah, I love this whole idea that he's up there with like this sniper rifle, and you kind of see where it cuts to the shot where it's like looking at that door, and he's just waiting for whoever. Like we don't know if he's going to shoot Mulder, we don't know if he's going to shoot the lone gunman when they come out, or who he's going to kill. But he's setting up to execute somebody, and I just kind of love the setup of this. Dug it.
I'm okay with it. I'm actually, yeah. This I thought this episode was really really good. It reeked the entire time of what they do as far as needing to remind their audience about this is going on. This is how powerful these people are. They
Mhm.
need to remind the audience of the overarching plot with the government and the men behind it and stuff like that. And normally they spread that through weird cameos in episodes that have nothing to do with them, ramping up to a series of episodes. And instead of doing that kind of beating your head about or beating your audience about the head and neck with you remember this person, you remember this person, instead and or just doing a recap of everything that has happened in the last 3 seasons and a few episodes, they wove all of that into a story that was compelling the whole time I was watching.
Yeah.
So I like this episode a lot. Spoilers, but yeah, ultimately this episode is just about reminding us of who these people are in order to set us up for episodes that weave into the foundation of what the X Files is as a show.
Yeah. For sure.
So we find out after the title screen that yeah, his mom or the cigarette smoking man's mom died of smoking before he heard her speak. That he was attending Army Special Forces training at Fort Bragg in 1962, where he is there with Mulder's dad in the
Yeah.
same Special Forces unit. And then cigarette smoking man gets called up to go speak with the general. On his way to go talk to the general, Mulder's dad shows him a baby pic of Fox Mulder and says that Fox's first word was JFK,
Yeah.
which is a
And,
weird.
and cigarette smoking man doesn't say, "Oh, by the way, I was banging your wife, and that's actually my biological kid." You son of a bitch. That was established, right?
I don't. I don't think so.
Well, there's that whole weird moment when the cigarette smoking man's talking to Mulder's mother. He's like, "We had some good times, girl," and she's like, I have forgotten all of that." And he's like, "I'll bet you didn't."
But there's also the swinging '70s. Like they were knocking each other's bottoms out at parties where they're getting
Look,
drunk.
look, cigarette smoking man seed gets in there, and suddenly you got a little Fox Mulder popping out. That's all I'm saying.
All right, our audience needed to know about the birds and the bees. Sometimes mommies are loved by other people's daddies, and Jesus. So, uh, They bring the cigarette smoking man before this general, special forces general. They start grilling him. Basically, is he a communist? They start grilling him about his father being a Russian spy. But what they really want is they want to recruit him to do something to work, behind the scenes because his father was a damn good spy,
Yeah,
according to all accounts.
they
And it's
respect him.
implied that just by being his son, that he too would be good at what they need him for. And when he asks them what they need him for, they talk around the edges of it, but they want him to shoot JFK.
Yeah, they got a
And
patsy all lined up for him.
yeah, they got a patsy. They have this scene where he actually talks to Lee Harvey Oswald, tells him, he's or the cigarette smoking man, that I'll be waiting in a theater for you. I'll be watching a movie. Talks to him in code about hiding curtain rods, quote unquote. And they've got a gun basically wrapped in paper. But that Lee's job in all of what is going on is to hide the curtain rods on the sixth floor near or repository near a window that Lee works at. Says he's got a travel visa that he's going to send him somewhere, which is unnamed, and he does it. He goes and almost gets caught by a supervisor planting the gun. We cut over to cigarette smoking man. He's actually climbing his way through 100 yards of foul shit I can't even begin to imagine, just to shoot JFK in the face. And he does shoot JFK. Oswald gets caught by a cop, and it goes through the entire thing. Like a Dallas guy pulls him over walking. Oswald shoots him. Goes to the movie theater. Ends up getting discovered in order to take out the cigarette smoking man because he ain't gonna be set up for this.
Yeah,
But he's not there, or he just sits down long enough until the cops show up and arrest him.
yeah. This is if I was gonna say there, this episode is broken up into like four parts, right? If I remember correctly, I
Yeah,
think this would probably be the weakest part, in my opinion. Not because I don't think it's interesting that the cigarette smoking man, was involved in the JFK assassination or anything, but just because I feel like that is was such an obvious story for them to do, that I was just kind of like, okay. I mean, this is cool. I mean, I'm having a good time watching this first part. I liked the little things that they did here, where cigarette smoking man, when they first talk, I don't know if it's Mulder's dad or one of the generals asks him, "You want a cigarette?" He's like, "No, I don't touch the things." And then it's actually like Lee Harvey Oswald that gives him that pack of cigarettes, which I thought was kind of cool. And so like little things like that they kind of start layering in, I liked about this first part. But it just seems too obvious. Of course he's the one that shot JFK. He's the second gunman on the grassy knoll. Of course that's what it would be.
see, I ate it up both as a child as an adult. I always love the alternative explanation of histories,
Yeah.
like the real things that happen behind major events throughout human history. So, yeah, when I was a kid, I'm like, I completely bought into it, and I just allowed myself as an adult just to go back to that spot where I'm like, yeah, of fucking course he shot JFK.
Yeah, I don't dislike it. I just think it's the weakest segment of the four.
All right, no, okay, I'm sorry.
Forget I said anything. Jesus Christ, go ahead.
So yeah, he starts smoking in the theater after Lee Harvey Oswald gets busted. Because you used to be able to smoke in movie theaters, which would have been dope. And
you
if it
used to,
was still there, I'd still be smoking cigarettes.
you used to be able to smoke everywhere. Planes, doctors' offices, everywhere.
I miss it, Matt. Sometimes. Um, what?
Nothing. Keep going. Part
So
two.
the next up is he's writing threatening messages to Martin Luther King on a typewriter while he's listening to one of King's speeches. So
Yeah.
he's a part of the FBI or the government's like campaign to discredit Martin Luther King, but he clearly respects him. He thinks he's good,
Yeah,
like
he says it.
genuinely good, and he admires him for it. But he feels that he can't be allowed to continue because he's going to get black men to not serve in Vietnam.
Right.
And so he goes to some sort of meeting of the minds with other leadership, and they're like, well, he starts poking holes and they're trying to get him to commit suicide because it's not working. And so they, oh, we could do something else. We could fake a sex video he has with a white woman. And cigarette smoking man's like, you guys are idiots. We're just gonna have to kill him. And you know what? I'll take the shot myself because I respect him too much.
He does the
And so,
Thanos Infinity Gauntlet. I'll do it myself. And
and
one
he
of those
does.
people in the rooms is J. Edgar Hoover. So they throw him in there. And I love that line where he's like, "Yeah, you didn't see this coming, Edgar? Like you had no idea that this speech was coming and doing all that?" And he's like all sheepish about it and everything. And we should point out that this whole segment's in black and white. And it looks gorgeous. It looks spectacular. I don't know what it looks like on a 480p pirate stream, but on a 60-inch television in high def, it looks fucking great.
Man, I'm having the original experience over here, like over the air, Fox coming in on a couple of bad antennas who's patched up by some aluminum foil in a spot. Like I'm going OG experience here. You over here with your high
Look,
def, I could
look.
see all of Spooky's pores.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's a you problem. So if you want to settle for less. That's on you, friend.
Yes. I don't want to see that many dots on a dude's face. That's it.
You don't want to see the sweat literally in high def oozing out of that 4K pore. Like you
I
don't want to
can
see that.
see enough. I can see enough. All right. So he does it. He sets up the patsy. He goes and executes Martin Luther King while he's standing out on that balcony. Um, and as he's like hanging out listening to, was he listening to another Martin? No, he was just hanging out regretting what he did to MLK,
Yeah,
and he's watching Robert Kennedy like talk about what had happened and realizes it's implied,
he's
at
gonna have
least
to
in that
kill
scene.
him
He's like,
too.
I gotta go kill that guy. So then it cuts to near present time from there. And he's sitting in, another one of those meeting of the mind people. And it seems like every major thing that's happening in not only in America, but in the world, the decisions as to what is happening is routing through this room. As the hospital that Rodney King got sent to, who is going to win the Oscar this year? Bosnia's independence. And he's like, I don't give a shit about any of that as
Yep.
long as the Bills don't win the Super Bowl. And you guys are really rigging the Super Bowl? It's like, yeah, we rigged the USA beating Russia in the hockey at the Olympics, like back in the 80s. The Miracle on Ice or whatever they call it.
He gets like a pager of like message from Saddam Hussein, and he's like, "Call back," or
Yep. Like they in passing they mentioned that Mulder wants to open the X Files, and he's like, yeah, just keep an eye on him. Oh, Gorbachev resigned. I guess there are no more enemies. And then he remembers that he has a Christmas present for all the guys, and he bought them all ties.
yeah, it's all the
I was,
exact same tie.
I honestly thought those guys were going to die. I thought they were going to
Oh, I
open
did
the
too.
presents and you're going to die, but no,
Yeah,
no, they're just nice guys, just giving out ties.
and one of those guys was like, "Hey, man, we're all getting together on the island, our families for Christmas. Like, you're invited," and he won't do it.
He
He's
says
just
he's
like,
got his own family to visit.
you know,
And what he does is he goes to the basement of the FBI building and walks by Spooky's office. We don't see Mulder there. We could just hear him typing. And
mm,
that's just, I guess, enough for
he's
him
going to visit his family, huh? And walking by Mulder's office. Interesting.
with this shit again.
It's his seed, man.
He came.
It's like a boa or whatever.
Boa.
Right into Mulder's mom.
Is that how it works, man?
Yeah.
You just put it in a tube, just aim it, fire. Wow. We need to have a
Oh,
long talk about
we,
how babies are made after
we
this, but
we forgot he's writing an adventure novel through
no,
these.
that's the next scene because he goes home, he's listening to Christmas stuff, and he's sitting at a typewriter, essentially writing an autobiography about all of the things that he's done, which I suspect is what the lone gunmen are reading back to Mulder
Yeah.
pre-title
Oh,
screen.
I didn't think about that. Yeah. Interesting.
So he's typing this autobiography about all of his adventures, about the aliens, about the assassinations and all that shit. And he seems like he just wants to do that. And then all of a sudden he gets a call from Deep Throat about what they got for Christmas. Like, you got to check out what we got for Christmas. It turns out they got a downed UFO that was there was one exactly like it flying around Korea or some shit or Saigon, and they have one of the pilots, but the pilot is in critical condition. So they go hang out outside of this clear glass room. There's a gray on a respirator, big ass gray too, not just one of the little ones.
Looks cool too. Like they did a good job on the prosthetics and everything for it.
I wouldn't know. I'm watching it in 4080p in pirate, but I'll take your word for it. And he starts waxing poetic about all of the history that the two of them in the world have bore witness to, and that none of humanity would ever
Yeah.
know what they've seen.
Love this scene. Love it.
And then Deep Throat offers him his gun and says, this is your job, you're the killer, I'm the liar. That he mentions that there's some agreement. The
I
cigarette smoking man wants to spare him. He's like, we got to give this guy to Mulder's dad, and it would set whatever research Mulder's dad is doing ahead decades. But no, there's some sort of like written rule between every country in the world that is in, the powers that be that are actually in control, that every captured EBE is to immediately be exterminated.
Yeah. Now I had
But
I had a question about this for you.
sure.
So there's a back and forth between the two of them here, where Deep Throat's like, "Here's a gun, man. Go shoot him. Go kill him." And Cigarette Smoking Man does not want to do it, and he's like, "Look, I have a chance to go my entire life without killing anything, any human, any creature, anything like that. But we just saw him killed John F. Kennedy and Martin Luther King Jr. So what do you think that was about? Why was he telling Deep Throat that he hadn't actually like himself pulled the trigger and killed anybody?
I guess I really hadn't given it much disassociation with what he is doing. That the things that he had to do for the greater good were not done by him, but were done as an extension of the government that he worked for. That it wasn't actually him doing it. It was because it wasn't his call to shoot JFK. It wasn't his call to shoot MLK. Well, no, I guess it
You
kind of
know,
was.
he kind of was like, we got to take care of that because they were going to do a bunch of other shit like the sex tape and stuff, and he's like, no, you idiots, I got to handle this myself. So that's why I was kind of confused. I didn't understand exactly. And anybody listening, if you know, leave a comment down below. What was Cigarette Smoking Man thinking? Because he literally flips a coin because he doesn't want to kill the alien. And then he wins the coin toss, and then Deep Throat has to go shoot the alien dead. But there's something intentional there of why the writers were like, so like, why doesn't he not want to go shoot the alien? It's weird to me.
Maybe he's talking about the aliens themselves that he hadn't. I don't know. I
Well,
don't
he
fucking know.
he says any living creature or something like that. He's like, no creature and no man. I've never actually killed anybody. Which, I mean, was any of this real in this? Because remember, like, if your point is correct in that, hey, the cigarette or the lone gunmen are reading this like story that he's writing throughout this whole thing. Is he an unreliable narrator? Is everything that we're kind of seeing in this episode, his fantasy adventure? Like he didn't actually kill JFK, he didn't actually kill Martin Luther King, but he's writing this story because he's like, well, I did these great things. These are great things that I did. I don't know. It's weird. It's strange.
I think you have a point there, Matt, because at the writing of this story, he thinks he could just write a resignation letter to the powers that be and they're just
Yeah.
going to let him go.
Yeah.
But if he's on the hook for MLK and JFK, like as I understand it, there's only one way out of that job, and it's in
Oh
a
yeah.
pine box. You know.
Yeah, they're not gonna be like, okay, yeah, your service is done. Thank you. Go enjoy your life, sort of thing. So this could all be his fantasy that he's writing, his novel, as to all these cool things that he did, these adventures, but he didn't actually do any of them.
Hmm.
I don't know. Leave a comment down below, folks. Tell us what you think.
So they flip to shoot. CSM wins. We've already been past this. Deep Throat shoots the Gray to death poorly while CSM does his smoking thing. We flash back to the beginning of the X Files. Scully's interview and joining the X Files. She looks so mousy compared to what she looks like in
Oh
this.
yeah, and young. She looks real young.
We're back to cigarette smoking man gets word from a publisher that they're gonna put his stuff in a magazine, and he gets so excited and he's like, "Oh, I got some ideas for the artwork
Yeah.
and all this stuff," and he's like, "Hey, hold on there, guy. We'll do what we want with this story. We'll take care of you and get you your money, but don't get too crazy. This is just your first story." And he's like, "Okay." He
You,
writes up his resignation letter. He fucking crushes his cigarettes. And he goes on, he's like, this is just what I'm going to do now. I'm not going to be a bad guy in control of the government. I'm just going to write books.
You know what I loved about this? I loved William B. Davis's performance in this because we've only ever seen the cigarette smoking man being like this cold, calculating. Every once in a while, like that one episode was at the season premiere of this season, whatever, where that alien that can heal kind of freaked him out and he was panicking a little bit. But
Yeah.
typically speaking, we've never seen him like happy ever. Kind of like that childlike sense of wonder of something really cool happened to me and I'm just really excited by it and I'd love to tell people about it but I can't, and so the only way, because he's using like a pseudonym, they show like Raoul Bloodworth or something is the pseudonym that he's using to type this whole thing up. And he's been writing this thing for years, and he's been getting rejected probably for years, and then he just, it's that moment of like just human happiness that something good happened to him. I loved how William B. Davis played that. I thought he did a really good job.
But we have a villain re-origin story here, I guess,
Yeah,
because he goes to pick up the magazine and he is distressed to read that they completely changed the ending.
yeah.
And so he buys the magazine, he picks up a pack of smokes, he sits down with a bum. And I wish I would have written the whole thing out, but he just says too much. He's like, life is like a box of chocolates, cheap. And then he goes through this whole story about sometimes you get a peanut butter cup and everything's good, but everything else in that box is just bullshit, and it just stays there forever. And it's this weird monologue. It's good. It's just he's clearly upset, and he's letting this bum eat this box of chocolates.
Yeah. He tears up that resignation letter,
Yep.
starts smoking again, and it's just like, okay, well, I guess I'm destined to be a villain. Like this, maybe he thought like writing this book under this, fake name would be the way that he could have an outlet, impact the world, or do something positive in the world. Maybe subconsciously the cigarette smoking man is like, all of this kind of shit is real and it's really happening, and this is my way to try to get it out there for people like the lone gunman to pick up on and people like Mulder to pick up on. And that might come back into play as well, because if this publisher changed everything, can we rely on anything that has been in this episode up to that point, right? Because how much of what was in the episode already up to this point was something that this publisher changed. And then he reads it and he's like, this is not how it actually happened. So perhaps, and maybe I'm just going way too into the weeds here, but perhaps he wrote this book, and then all of what we've seen was changed. Oh no, we're going to make this person be the person who killed JFK, and suddenly the person who killed Martin Luther King, and the person who killed Robert Kennedy, and all of this stuff. And he's like, this is not how any of this happened. All this time I've been writing this is like I'm speaking the truth of the stuff, and they just sensationalized everything, and it's all going to get lost because no one's going to believe it at that point. Right, one guy is controlling who wins the Super Bowl and has Saddam Hussein on speed dial and all of that kind of stuff. So I think there's like a meta commentary going on in this episode that can be kind of hard to parse out if you're not watching it closely.
Sure. Then we get back to him staring at Frohickey under his crosshairs. And he says that he can kill him whenever he pleases, but not today.
Yep.
Then the episode ends.
All right. What did you think of Musings of a Cigarette Smoking Man?
I feel again that the episode was one of those where they're gearing up for things to happen in the near future in episodes, and they need to remind their audience that this and this is going on, that this character exists, that this character exists, that these are how powerful they are. And normally they've been doing it again just by mini cameos, little like one liners in different various episodes that have nothing to do with them. And it makes me as an audience member feel kind of stupid. I don't like how they do it that way. But in this episode, they presented all of that information in a compelling story. And now that we're kind of seesawing back and forth on the whole, this was all written by him and being read by Frohickey to Mulder out of this magazine, and stuff was changed. Like we don't really know anything more about
Yeah.
the cigarette smoking man than when we started, but it was done really, really well, really masterfully done, and that makes this episode even better than the previous one with all the fat sucking.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, my friend.
Whoa, whoa,
No,
whoa, whoa, whoa.
no, I love this episode as well. I feel like this we're finally starting to get into unique storytelling in the X Files. I was waiting for something like this. Like we talked about a couple episodes back about the field where I died, and I was like, this could have been really, really great, but they just misfired. It just didn't go where they needed to go. I felt like this went where they needed it to go. This was one of those things. It was cool to kind of follow the cigarette smoking man. There's multiple layers to this onion of this story. Like you could plausibly just watch this and say, "Oh yeah, okay, this is the cigarette. Yeah, the cigarette smoking man was involved in all of this shit, and he's just like the puppet master of everything in the world, and that's just how it is." Or you can, as we talk back and forth, when you mentioned the magazine, I wasn't even thinking that Fro Hickey was reading it from the magazine until you mentioned it, and then it's like, oh wait a minute, well then maybe everything that we've been watching is not real, right? And so like you can watch it at that level and think about it on a different sort of plane at that point. And I thought William B. Davis was awesome, and whoever the actor is who plays the young version of him, I thought it was really, really good as
Very
well.
good.
And it was cool that this episode had no Mulder and Scully in it, and I was completely, engrossed in what I was watching. Like I didn't. It was so great that Mulder was not there. They could have thrown in a cameo where Mulder runs into cigarette smoking man in the hallway, or something stupid like that. But they decided, no, we're going to keep Mulder and Scully out of this completely, and we're just going to focus on this sort of villain character you've followed for the past 3 and a quarter seasons by this point, and we're going to give you something interesting about him. And then we're still going to, like you said, we don't know what's real and what's not. We haven't learned anything new about the cigarette smoking man in this, other than he could kill somebody if he wanted to, but he's not going to do it today. So yeah, I thought this was awesome. Yeah, I really like this one.
Worth a watch for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So, fun facts about this one. Written by Glenn Morgan and directed by James Wong, Musings of a Cigarette Smoking Man was inspired by the DC graphic novel Lex Luthor, the unauthorized biography from 1989. Morgan later explained that he wanted the episode to show that the smoking man was extremely dangerous. This was to be emphasized by the episode's original ending, which featured the smoking man killing Melvin Frohickey. However, the show's executive staff vetoed the idea. Davis was excited that the show wanted to focus on his character, but he was confused as to why a character who killed not only John F. Kennedy, but also Martin Luther King Jr., would worry about minor things like preventing the Buffalo Bills from winning the Super Bowl. Chris Carter said, quote, "I had to speak with Bill several times. I spent hours with him on the telephone talking about the character, because the actor felt that the episode really made the character something that it wasn't. I tried to explain to him, as I think Jim and Glenn were trying to express, that even if your mission in life is a destroyer, that you still have some hope in the back of your mind that you can be a creator, and that this, all of a sudden, this vanity is his vanity, as we see that so clearly here, and it makes him sort of a silly person." Unquote. And then the episode was the first in the series where Mulder does not make a physical appearance. Scully appears only in archival footage from pilot. While it was not the intention of the show's writers to give the lead actors a week off, this effectively came to pass, a turn of events in which David Duchovny said he was, quote, very pleased, unquote. So it feels like at this point, David Duchovny's already getting sick of the X-Files, does it not? Just kind of feels like every time we read these fun facts, he's just kind of like, yeah, didn't like this, didn't want to do this, happy to have a week off. Poor guy. Poor guy. But any other comments about Musings of a Cigarette Smoking Man that you want to throw out there?
I do not, Matt.
Okay. That's it. Hit that like and subscribe. Tell us what the hell this was about. Doesn't sound like from the fun facts that these people, writers, were thinking, deeply about it. Maybe we imbued more into this than was actually there, but hey, I like our version better. So there you go. That's art for you. Hit that like and subscribe. We'll see you next Friday. See you then on eXhuming the X-Files.